Good morning, Year 7. Welcome back to our poetry module. Today we're starting on the actual poem, so that's obviously good. First of all, though, for the do now, I want you to describe this cat. And if you can, use similes and metaphors. Just a couple of minutes, a few lines just describing that cat using similes and metaphors if you can. Today's lesson, we're going to be looking at a poem called A Case of Murder by a chap called Vernon Scannell. So your title is A Case of Murder by Vernon Scannell. For this lesson you're going to need a pen and your book, a copy of the poem, highlighters, colours and pens. Okay, we're going to go through the poem. I'm going to reveal it as we go through. I'll read it and read along. A Case of Murder by Vernon Scannell. They should not have left him there alone that is, except for the cat. He was only 9, not old enough to be left alone in a basement flat, alone that is, except for the cat. A dog would have been a different thing, a big gruff dog with slashing jaws, but a cat with round eyes, mad as gold, plump as a cushion with tucked in paws, better have left him with a fair-sized rat. But what they did was leave him with a cat. He hated that cat. He watched it sit, a buzzing machine of soft black stuff. He sat and watched and he hated it, snug in its fur, hot blood in a muff, and its mad gold stare and the way it sat crooning dark warmth. He loathed all that. So he took Daddy's stick and he hit the cat. Then quick as a sudden cracking glass it hissed, black flash to a hiding place in the dust and dark beneath the couch. And he followed the grin on his new-made face, a wide-eyed, frightened snarl of a grin, and he took the stick and he thrust it in, hard and quick in the furry dark. The black fur squealed and he felt his skin prickle with sparks of dry delight. Then the cat again came into sight, shot for the door that wasn't quite shut, but the boy, quick too, slammed fast the door. The cat, half through, was cracked like a nut, and the soft black thud was dumped on the floor. Then the boy was suddenly terrified and he bit his knuckles and cried, but he had to do something with the dead thing there. His eyes squeezed beads of salty prayer, but the wound of fear gaped wide and raw. He dared not touch the thing with his hand, so he fetched a spade and shovelled it and dumped the load of heavy fur in the spidery cupboard under the stair, where it's been for years, and though it died, its groan in that cupboard and its hot low purr grows slowly louder year by year. There'll not be a corner for the boy to hide when the cupboard swells and all sides split and the huge black cat pads out of it. So what is this poem about? It's fairly obvious, really. I think it is a story of a young boy accidentally killing a cat because he is scared and alone. Who is the speaker? That is the person who is speaking in the poem, who's telling the story. The speaker is an adult explaining the boy's feelings and actions because the boy cannot. It could even be the boy looking back on what happened to him. You don't need to write any of that down, just remember it and we'll go on to the next slide. So let's get some clues from the poem to solve the case of murder. On the next slide are 10 statements. You decide if they are true or false. If the statement is true, write a T. If it's false, write an F. There you are. You can just put those, you don't need to write them all into your book. You can put one T next to it, or so 1 to 10 with a T or an F next to them. And there are the answers. I wonder how you got on. Fairly well, I hope. And now we're going to look at how the cat is described. Now, when we're looking at poetry, we talk about imagery, how the cat is described through imagery. So go back through the poem and copy out in a list all of the imagery that is used to describe the cat in the poem. Now, imagery is things like similes, personification, metaphors, onomatopoeias. Everything that creates a picture in the reader's mind is a form of imagery. So make a list of all those different devices that have used, with the example next to them, of images that have been used to create a picture in the reader's mind. That will take you 10 minutes, then go on to the next slide. Did you get these? If you didn't, add these to your list. Eyes mad as gold, plump as a cushion, a buzzing machine, soft black stuff, hot blood in a muff. Can you tell which of the quotations are similes and which are metaphors? Look back at your do now. Did you choose the same sort of words? Does this imagery make the cat sound cute? I don't think so. And if it doesn't, which it doesn't, I'd like you to think about why not. You don't need to write anything down for that slide though. Just have a think about it and then go on to the next slide. Why does this line present the cat as sinister? So I've done a bit of language analysis for you here. A buzzing machine is the line or phrase. The adjective buzzing should really be purring, but the writer has chosen to write buzzing instead. What is the difference between purring and buzzing? You know, one's sort of friendly and the other isn't it? Calling the cat a machine, this metaphor makes the cat seem like a robot and not alive. What does this tell the reader about how the boy feels about the cat? He's looking at this cat that's buzzing, that's staring at him with mad gold eyes. You know, it's upsetting him, doesn't he? He doesn't feel he can make any sort of connection with it. Consequently, he's become very frightened. So write up your ideas in a sentence. The line buzzing machine makes the cat sound sinister because... You've got 10 minutes to do that, and then on to the next slide. Now we're going to go over the poem again in detail, and we're going to annotate the poem with notes. This is where you draw lines off your copy of the poem that are pointing to certain parts of the poem which we're using to annotate it. So if you have extra ideas on top of the ones that I'm going to show you now, then add them to your annotation. They should not have left him there alone that is, except for the cat. With the repetition of alone, it shows the boy's focus on the cat. He can't stop thinking about it. There's just the two of them in the room there, and he's alone, and he just can't stop thinking and looking at the cat. He was only 9, not old enough to be left alone in a basement flat. Alone, that is, except for the cat. A dog would have been a different thing, a big gruff dog with slashing jaws, but a cat with round eyes, mad as gold, plump as a cushion with tucked-in paws. Better have left him with a fair-sized rat. But what they did was leave him with a cat. He hated that cat. He watched it sit, a buzzing machine of soft black stuff. There we go. We've discussed the metaphor of a buzzing machine. It makes the cat sound like a robot, something that is not alive. And he hated it, snug in its fur, hot blood in a muff, and its mad gold stare, and the way it sat, crooning dark warmth. He loathed all that. So annotate your poem with those two notes and then go on to the next slide. So he took Daddy's stick and he hit the cat. That's an interesting detail, isn't it? This detail makes the reader worried. Why has Daddy got a stick? Then quick as a sudden crack in glass, there's Onomatopoeia there. It hissed black flash to a hiding place in the dust and dark beneath the couch, and he followed the grin on his new-made face, a wide-eyed, frightened snarl of the grin. The poet has used 3 adjectives to describe the boy's grin. What do these adjectives tell the boy about the boy's feelings? Well, he's terrified, isn't he? And he took the stick and he thrust it in, hard and quick in the furry dark. The black fur squealed and he felt his skin prickle with sparks of dry delight. Then the cat again came into sight, shot for the door that wasn't quite shut. But the boy, quick too, slammed fast the door. The cat half through was cracked like a nut and the soft black thug was dumped on the floor. The emotive verb dumped suggests that the cat is like rubbish and needed to be got rid of. So put those notes onto your poems. And just by the way, I'm a cat lover, so don't be upset by any of this. It's just a poem about a frightened boy left in a basement. My cat's currently looking at me across the room, so no cats were hurt in the reading of this poem. Then the boy was suddenly terrified and he bit his knuckles and cried, but he had to do something with the dead thing there. His eyes squeezed beads of salty prayer, but the wound of fear gaped wide and raw. He dared not touch the thing with his hand, so he fetched a spade and shovelled it, and he dumped the load of heavy fur in the spidery cupboard under the stair, where it's been for years, and though it died, it's grown. In that cupboard, and its hot low purr grows slowly louder year by year. There'll not be a corner for the boy to hide when the cupboard swells and all sides split and the huge black cat pads out of it. The cat is a metaphor. What do you think? The cat's become a metaphor for something else, hasn't it? What do you think that is? Have a think about that. Could it be his guilty conscience? It's up to you. You can make some choices there. So write down what you think. The cat's become a metaphor. Obviously, it's not really going to swell up and split the sides of the of the cupboard, but it's in his mind. He's been living there. He's only 9, so he's probably lived there for another 10 years. And every year he's past that cupboard and he thinks he can hear purring. He knows he can't really, but it's his guilty conscience playing on him. Here's a short quiz, visual quiz, just to see how well we've got to know him. Ideas from the poem have been put into this picture. Can you pick them out and explain what they are? Just make some little notes in your book there about what you think those images, all together and individually, what part of the poem they represent. Now here's the task, or the task that I want you to put onto Classcharts. I know that you're all very good at this. I'm super impressed, and I've been handing out achievement points. I will actually be looking at these once a week. So if you don't get any achievement points for a couple of days, that's why. Then you'll get them all in one go. So for the next 20 minutes, I want you to complete this task. So let's look again at the last lines of the poem. There'll not be a corner for the boy to hide when the cupboard swells and all sides split and the huge black cat pads out of it. I want you to write another 4 lines minimum. You can write more if you want, describing what the zombie cat looks like. And how many techniques can you use to make the cat seem super scary? I want a simile, a metaphor, onomatopoeia, or emotive verbs. So there you are, Year 7. There's our first poem of the module. Quite a scary story about a young boy who, well, really, it's on the parents, isn't it? They shouldn't have left him alone in a basement flat like that. And terrible things happen to the cat. Obviously, it's just a poem, so nobody's got hurt. As I've already said, I'm a cat lover, and if I thought that cats were bad things, I would, you know, I wouldn't teach it to you. So I'm sure there's many cat lovers among you, so don't worry about it. And the task that I just told you, upload it to Classcharts, and I will give you the achievement points when I look at it on Thursday. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.